This is 3 underrated slasher movies that you need to watch, and today we're kicking this discussion off with Cherry Falls. Let's get down to the rundown. Somebody's murdering the high school students in the town of Cherry Falls, and they can only find one commonality. All the victims are virgins. That's right, in this slasher movie, the killer's not going after the people that's having sex, but the ones that aren't. I really dug this. Having this unconventional motive really turns the common horror trope on its head, with the killer actually focusing the virgins in this movie, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the film. And speaking of the high schoolers, they're actually likable in this movie, so you find yourself really rooting for them, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and who's picking them off, because you really want them to survive. And with an explosive cast like Brittany Murphy, Jay Moore, and Michael Biehn, and Jesse Bradford, I mean, you got some really good cast stacked in this film. Brittany Murphy plays the character of Jody, who is the daughter of the town sheriff, played by Michael Biehn, and Jay Moore plays the principal in the movie, so I think that they're all cast really well. And absolutely 100% one of the main strengths of this movie is that it's self-aware. It knows exactly what it is and what it sets out to do, and I think it accomplishes the mission very well. And in terms of the cinematography, I really dig the small town setting. It really helps ramp up the isolation that the characters fear with the paranoia, and I can honestly say that I dig it. And I feel like one of the reasons this movie never reaches the same level as its predecessors in the slasher genre did is this movie was cut and edited into the damn ground. But despite that, it still remains a very underappreciated and underrated slasher and a gem for me, because it's just really well done. The plot is pretty clever, it's got strong performances, and it's really well directed and well shot, and what else could you ask for in a slasher movie? At the end of the day, we're left with a really refreshing take on the slasher genre. It offers a thought-provoking narrative too about teen sexuality and the questioning societal norms. I mean, that's pretty obvious. With its engaging plot, memorable characters, and dark humor, this movie definitely deserves more love than it gets. I give it a 7 out of 10. And for the longest time, this movie wasn't streaming anywhere, but you can actually watch it on AMC Plus now. So you should definitely head over there and check it out if you've never seen it. Next, we're going to head into campy territory and talk about The House on Tombstone Hill. This is definitely a B movie, but holy hell is it fun. In this movie, we see a group of friends heading to an old decrepit mansion to fix it up with plans of making it into a bed and breakfast. Only one problem. An old lady killed somebody there years ago, and her ghost happens to inhabit the house. And oh yeah, it would be as you would expect it. It don't take long for the bodies to start dropping. I have to talk about the killer for this movie. It is a little old lady who does this little giggle thing, and she literally is just absolutely creepy, but funny at the same time. It is definitely a campy B movie, but oh my god, if you dig these type of movies, you will really like it. It definitely falls into the horror comedy section, as it's not a straight up suspenseful atmospheric slasher, but also I think that's what makes it so unique. Being such a low budget gem, you have a pretty good solid cast here, considering none of them were professional actors. I mean, you have to love a movie that embraces its campiness, but also has a serious side and really puts out some decent suspense and creepiness in its scenes. Dialogue is cheesy, but man, there are some creative kills in this film. One of my favorite is definitely the death with a window. If you watch this movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I really thought that was a really unique death. The movie never loses its playful feeling, and I think that that's something that really held my interest, and I could tell that they really had a blast while filming this movie. Like I said before, the cast isn't made up of A-list actors here, but they have a lot of charisma and their chemistry meshes really well, and that's another big strength to the film. Really makes you root for the characters the more dire that the circumstances get, and you really are really wanting to see them get out of this house, because man, it really keeps you on edge. Tombstone Hill is a movie that makes the most out of its limited budget. It has very creative camera work and great practical effects considering the budget that they had to make the movie with. Overall, I would definitely call this a hidden gem of the 80s, and I feel like it's very overlooked. It's really funny that this was distributed by Troma Entertainment, even though technically it's not one of their movies. I always thought that was pretty cool. Scares, you take humor, you take charm, you put it in a blender, hit frappe, and you have The House on Tombstone Hill. It is actually a delight of a movie to watch. Into B movies, if you like quirky films, grab you some popcorn, sit down, kick your feet up, and turn on The House on Tombstone Hill. You can actually find this to watch on Tubi. I have to give it a 6 out of 10. Last but not least, we're talking about Slumber Party Massacre 2. Oh my God, do I love the killer in this film. Talking about a wacky sequel, this is about as cheese-filled as you could get, and I love every damn minute of it. The movie revolves around Courtney, the younger sister of the final girl from the original film, who can't stop having nightmares about a rockabilly killer with a power drill guitar. And it is as wacky as it sounds. As her and her bandmates have fun on a weekend getaway, her dreams soon bleed into reality, and it doesn't take long for the driller killer to show up and start taking them out one by one. Damn, this is a fun movie. What makes this movie so much better to me than the original is it knows that it's absurd, and it embraces the absurdity at every turn. Everything from the killer, the way he dresses, to his weapon of choice. I mean, you got to love a singing rockabilly killer. I didn't even know we needed this, but I needed this in my life, and I'm so glad that I found this movie years ago. Everything from the extreme 80s soundtrack to the over-the-top set pieces, I mean, it checks the boxes. Once again, you got a cast that's pretty solid, and you actually are rooting for them to survive, even though you know that they're not. I mean, it just really makes for a fun ride, and you definitely want to watch this with a group of friends. Its color palette selection that they use for filming the movie, its inventive camera work, the killer songs that he sings while he's getting ready to slaughter somebody. I mean, you really can't ask for something better. It's a campy, entertaining sequel that absolutely passes the original just because of its absurdity, and you can't look away. A really fun soundtrack, really good tongue-in-cheek humor, and a killer that you will just have your eyes locked on, and he commands your attention every time he's on screen. Once again, if you love B movies, if you love 80s cinema, horror comedies, this movie's right up your alley. I give it a 7 out of 10. I love this movie and I will defend it until the day I die. It's also on Tubi if you want to check it out.